Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
My legal practice focuses entirely on lemon law. I do nothing but lemon law cases these days, and that's just the way that my practice has evolved. That's what I'm good at. That's what people come to me for, and I handle lemon law claims. So I used to handle other kinds of claims over the years, but it was almost always consumer protection in nature. And a lot of it did involve car sales. So if you buy a defective car that cannot be repaired and you bought it brand new and so on, there's a few other things you got to do, it can become a lemon. And that's what I handle. But I used to handle other cases as well involving dealership fraud and so on. So whenever I see a story pop up in the news about a car dealer getting in trouble, regardless of where it happens, I find it interesting. And Barry sent me a note and said, Steve, a story out of Rhode Island involving two Rhode Island car dealers that are being sued by the Attorney General. With allegations of deceptive pricing. And this is the kind of thing that happens a lot of places. It's just a question of, is it illegal? And if it's illegal, who enforces it? Is it enforced by the state, or can consumers enforce it? And sometimes it's both. But in Rhode Island right now, it's the AG going after this. Paul Edward Parker wrote this for the Providence Journal, where the state attorney general recently announced he is suing two related car dealerships, accusing them of deceptive pricing practices. And one of them is very specific and unusual, but the other one is not. The Attorney General said that a Honda dealership of Johnston refused to sell vehicles at the advertised prices, instead adding a $5,000 addendum fee to the price. Now, we've all heard about market adjustments right now because cars are in short supply, buyers are a dime a dozen, and so too many buyers, too few product, then you have a situation where prices go up. And so a lot of dealers will tell you, you got to buy that car, you got to pay us extra money. But you can't advertise the car for one price and then tack on money later, because that is deceptive advertising. So the AG said that a Toyota dealership in East Providence also advertised wholesale prices. And the word wholesale is in quotes, wholesale prices. And that term is forbidden in car ads by Rhode Island law. The state law says a dealership cannot say they're selling cars at wholesale prices. And that's an unusual law. I've never heard of that before. But it makes sense because they're obviously not really going to sell you a car at wholesale prices. They're just using that term because it makes people think, wow, I'm going to get a great deal. I'm going to get a car at wholesale, which is against the law in Rhode Island. So the AG is seeking to have customers reimbursed for any money they overpaid if they overpaid as a result of either of these two practices. And the AG is also fining the dealers up to $10,000 for each violation of the state's Deceptive Trade Practices Act. And those fines could total more than $1 million. Now, the Deceptive Trade Practices Act, and it's often called the Unfair and Deceptive Trade Practices Act generically, many states have got laws about the relationships between merchants and consumers. What can they say in advertisements? What can they do in the transaction? And Michigan, I've mentioned before, had a law called the Michigan Consumer Protection Act. That was our Unfair and Deceptive Trade Practices Act. It was overturned by our Supreme Court and has led to some insane results, including, I've mentioned before, the case where the guy brought his vehicle into a dealership to have the tires rotated, and they rotated the tires and then didn't put the lug nuts back on properly. Now that lawsuit was brought under the Motor Vehicle Service and Repair Act, but the two acts overlap. And if I had brought that case originally, I would have filed under both of those statutes. Problem is, the statute for the Consumer Protection Act doesn't exist anymore because it's overridden by the state Supreme Court. And of course, the state Supreme Court said that the lug nut case also was a non-starter because once they began the work, they had, in essence, performed it. So here's the thing, that apparently the Deceptive Trade Practices Act in Rhode Island still has teeth. So there you go. The chief operating officer of the automotive group that is the parent of these two dealerships denied advertising Hondas at false and misleading prices, but blamed the use of the word wholesale on a Florida advertising company that he said did not know it's illegal in Rhode Island. So you hire someone to do work for you, they break the law, but they didn't know it was the law? Oh, I'm sorry. It's not how it works. If you hire somebody to run ads for you and they run ads for you that are illegal, at what point did you step in and stop those ads from running? Or did you wait till the AG contacted you? Do you not watch the ads that you pay for? Really? Meanwhile, he also said that the prices listed on the Honda dealership's website were the manufacturer's suggested retail price and not the price for which the car was being offered for sale. He said the prices were for informational purposes only. So a website shows a car with a dollar sign and a number. But that's not the sale price. What are you, crazy? No, it's for informational purposes only. What information am I getting from that if that's not the sale price? What numbers do I want to know about a car? Number one, what am I paying for it? Call me crazy. The man said dealers rarely sell cars at the suggested price. Usually they sell for lower, but in the current market, sometimes they sell them for higher. Oh, I did not know that. This guy's teaching me stuff. Hold on. The COO of this organization that runs these two dealerships wants you to know that dealerships rarely sell cars for MSRP. Sometimes they sell for less. Sometimes they sell for more. Just let you know that in case you didn't know. He and his lawyer are working with the AG's office to ensure the company complies with the law going forward. He also added that Honda requires the suggested retail price be listed in ads and bars dealers from listing the discount or markup from that price. So he's saying Honda forced him to do it. Honda requires the MSRP to be listed in ads and bars them from listing a discount or a markup from that price. This is all Honda's fault. Meanwhile, the automotive group traces its roots back to the 1970s when it was founded by a father who has now passed it on to his son. These cases were filed last week. They say a customer went to the Honda dealership in December and was told that the car would cost $5,000 more than the sticker price. And apparently the sticker price was what was advertised on the internet. The suit then details 3 visits to the dealership in January and March by investigators from the AG's office who said they also were told vehicles would actually cost $5,000 more than the advertised price. And there's nothing wrong with them charging the markup. Let's be clear here. There is something wrong with them advertising it for this price but selling it for a higher price, which of course is a form of bait and switch. And bait and switch is the problem. They advertise the lower price to get you to come in, and once you're in, they go, oh, by the way, it's $5,000 more than that. That's the price that Honda makes us put there. Or maybe it's the Florida advertising agency doesn't know the law, but it ain't our fault, but you owe us $5,000 more. Ads for the dealership listed more than 100 cars on the vehicle value lot being sold at wholesale prices. And again, that's not allowed in Rhode Island. AG said rules set by the Division of Motor Vehicles, which regulates car dealers, provide that the word wholesale shall not be used in retail motor vehicle advertising to imply that motor vehicles are being offered to the general public at wholesale prices. It's simply forbidden, okay? The AG said his office is prepared to make sure that car dealers follow the rules. And it's an interesting case because all of the excuses they've got don't really do a whole lot. Because if they paid to run the advertisements that were created by an agency, they're still on the hook for them. Doesn't matter if it's made by somebody else. The ads were shipped to you and you put them on the air and you paid to run them. And I know it's possible that the advertising agency sent the material directly to the media outlets. That's true. But it would be on you to look at the ad and watch it at least once to make sure it doesn't break the law. But also, the idea that Honda requires them to put a price in the ad, that's not the price for which the car sells, but it's Honda's fault. You can't blame everything on other people. Okay, so if you are operating a car dealership in Rhode Island, there are laws by which you must comply. Likewise, it's true in every other state. As far as I know, Michigan's got Secretary of State's office and the Bureau of Regulatory Services, and they oversee car dealerships. And there are rules that car dealerships must follow. And interestingly, in Michigan, there's a thing called the dealer manual. And you can find it online. You can literally find it online. So if you want to know what the rules are for car dealerships in Michigan, go on the Google and type in Michigan Dealer Manual, Secretary of State's office, or something like that, and you'll find it. The entire thing's online. And it actually has spelled out in relatively plain English what the laws are for dealerships to follow. And it'll actually say at the very beginning, if you're an A dealer, new cars, you have to follow these. If you're a B dealer, used cars, you have to follow these. If you're a broker, you've got to follow these. If you're a wholesaler or if you're an auctioneer, and it has all the different definitions of what you can be selling cars to be licensed in Michigan to sell cars. And then it has chapters on what you need to do to follow the law. And it's actually laid out pretty plainly, and it's pretty clear. And so when someone says, oh, I didn't know that was against the rules, well, number one, you're presumed to know the rules because you agreed to abide by them when you got your license. And so this is just a bizarre case. But you have to understand one other thing, and this is just my personal experience, although I've heard from attorneys, my counterparts in other states have told me this, that if there is an agency that oversees car dealers or can go after them for violating the law on car sales, you don't pop up on their radar unless you do it a bunch of times. Meaning that if there's an isolated incident of something that happens at one dealership, it probably won't catch the attention of the Attorney General's office or the Bureau of Automotive Regulation or the DMV or whoever it is in your state that oversees it. What usually catches their attention is a pattern or a series of things happening at a dealership. Now, it's possible that one person could get ripped off, do some research, discover it, and complain to the AG's office. As noted here, there was a series of complaints. So we'll have to wait and see what happens because a lot of these things get worked out as negotiated settlements. And so we'll see what happens. But as of right now, the Attorney General is suing 2 Rhode Island car dealers alleging deceptive practices. And by the way, in case you're curious, I looked this up, by the way, because bait and switch is something everyone's heard of before. And bait and switch generally is one of two things. I advertise something and I say, I've got this widget for sale. Come on down. And when you show up and you go, I want to buy that widget, I go, widget's gone, but I got something else for you. And I pull out something cheaper. And I do that to get you to come in, hoping I can sell you the cheaper thing. Okay? That's one form of bait and switch. Another form of bait and switch, and this is not as clean as that, is where I advertise something at a low price. When you come in, I say, oh, that price is no longer available. The higher price is what you got to pay. And so the telling people they got to tack on $5,000 to the price they saw is a form of bait and switch. But what I'm getting at here is that bait and switch by itself, generally speaking, like at common law, is not necessarily illegal. You usually need a statute to make it illegal, like an Unfair and Deceptive Trade Practices Act, like the Michigan Consumer Protection Act used to be. However, it is illegal in England and Wales and also in Canada. I looked this up. Those things are true. So bait and switch illegal in England, Wales, also Canada, and Rhode Island, and probably quite a few other states. So that's what's happening in Rhode Island. Barry, thanks for the article and the note. And like I said, that's from the Providence Journal. Paul Edward Parker wrote it. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. You will never know when you reach your destination in this journey of your life, so live each moment with enthusiasm and be an inspiration to others.